Let's go, girls.
Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe.
Let's go! It is WTF, Women Talking Football, not to be confused with WFT. We are the Women Apparent Producers for Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Dave Campbell's Texan Live. My name is Ashley Pickle. I'm the executive producer of those two entities. Sitting over there, hi, friend, for the first time in a while, it's the AP to my EP, the associate producer of this joint, Mallory Hartley.
Hey. How's it going?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It has been a hot minute, actually. This is episode 45 of Women Talking Football, and we're back for good. So it's been a little while. The last show that we had was actually when we made the massive announcement of Texas Football Tonight, which was, I believe, July 14th.
Yeah, that was the Friday before we left for coaching school, so it's literally been a month.
Friday
Almost
before coaching
exactly
school.
Yeah,
just 3 days over a month. And the reason being for that is we've been really stinking busy, man.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we've been planning a whole show, so take that as you will, but we're busy.
An hour-long podcast or a 30-minute podcast is one thing. I'm not saying it's easy work to produce it. We've been doing it for about 2 days now to get ready for this one. A 2.5-hour weekly live show that is going to be going for anywhere from 14 to 16 weeks is a whole other beast.
Right.
So honestly, that's why we haven't been doing WTF, but we are so excited because now we are starting our regional breakdowns. All
Super
throughout
exciting.
the off season, we talked with tons of coaches' wives of women football adjacent. Thank you to all of our guests that came on this past off season, non-football season is what I'm going.
There you go. Okay, that's how we need to refer to the off season of football is just non-football season because there's no off season for us in the streaming company. So
off season makes my blood boil.
Yes.
The phrase off season absolutely makes my blood boil.
The question that makes my blood boil is so what are you doing right now that football's over? And I'm like, you do realize that we run a multi-million-dollar streaming company, right? Like we stream all sports, not just football.
Sitting here with my finger up my nose, like that's it. Just
Twiddling around. Hanging around.
You know me, just hanging around. But no, we had a fun non-football season, still talked a lot of football, went through a lot of record books. Thank you to everyone who was listening. If you are new here, welcome to the beginning of football season, our favorite time of the year. And here's how this works on WTF. So on WTF, what we do is we at Dave Campbell's break up the state of Texas into 21 different regions, stretching all the way from the Panhandle to the Piney Woods to way out west in El Paso, all the way down to South Texas and the Rio Grande Valley. We cover all 21 regions here at Dave Campbell's. So we decided that with WTF, we were going to take it week by week and go through the regions of the state. Now, obviously, making it starting now, going through football season, we're not going to be able to give each region its own individual show, so we're going to expand them a little bit. Today, we are focusing on one specific region. We will be talking about the Brazos Valley, which is kind of down there in the Bryan College Station area of the state. If you're not super familiar with Texas, think southeast of Austin, northwest of Houston is probably the best way to put that. So very excited to do that. In that, we will be breaking down some of the preseason ranked teams, taking a look at which teams in the Brazos Valley that we think has a chance to be some true contenders this year to, of course, play in illustrious AT&T Stadium at the end of the year for the state championships. We'll be breaking down some players that you definitely need to watch. Maybe you're not super into the region of the Brazos Valley, but you like to know what's going on in the recruiting world. Mallory Hartley will update you on that. And then the best part, we will be joined by KBTX sports reporter Nicole Griffith. funny enough, Nicole was on the show with us last year. She was one of the very first reporters that we called on WTF. We are going to try and switch it up because we don't want to just hit replay on exactly what we did last year and talk to the same people. But with Nicole, when we reached out to Nicole to have her on the show last year, she was about a week, maybe a week and a half into her job.
Brand new.
Literally brand new. And we just, at the time, we knew that her job was going to be to cover Texas high school football. There are some other female sports reporters down there, but most of them, as of last year, were more focused on covering the collegiate side of it. Obviously, there's this, teeny tiny university you may have heard down in College Station, Texas A&M, I think is the name of it. So apparently they had their hands full with that. So we needed to find someone who was covering Texas high school football. And Nicole came on, and to her credit, absolutely crushed it. I mean, she studied up, she asked some people some questions, and she was able to hang with us for about 10 minutes just talking Brazos Valley football, and the poor girl just got there.
Literally just started, so props to her. But we wanted to have her on, just kind of like hey, welcome back to the football season, and let's see how much knowledge you gained in a year from being in that position.
Exactly. So. I literally texted her and I said, "Hey, it's me again. Since I kind of screwed you over and put you on like before you really knew anything, we would love to give you a shot now that you know some stuff."
This is gonna be a piece of cake for her.
Oh yeah, now she's gonna be spitting it like easy. And she honestly, she was, I don't know how much she studied last year, but she was spitting it with only about a weekend. So very impressive to talk to her, but we're super excited. But before we get into that, because we'll bring on Nicole here in just a second, do we want to put up that graphic real fast? We kind of precursored this at the beginning of the show, but for anyone who is just now joining us, or whether that be Dave Campbell's, whether that be Women Talking Football, we really want to spotlight something that we are incredibly excited about, and that is next Friday. I cannot believe I'm saying that. Next Friday. Tomorrow, it'll be a week till. We will be doing our premiere episode of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. 2.5 hours live every single Friday night. From next Friday all the way down throughout the playoffs, we will be streaming for free, Free, live on TexanLive.com, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. Think Red Zone, but for Texas high school football. We will be going into all of our Dave Campbell's Texan Live broadcasts that we have. We're streaming anywhere from about 30 to 40 to 50 every single Friday night. We'll be diving live about 6 to 7 different spotlight games that we'll be keeping up with, and then highlights, live action across the state right there on TexanLive.com for free every single Friday night. And it's not just free for the first episode next Friday. It's free all season long. Nick Laupius on the desk, Ishmael Johnson bringing you all the action next Friday, August 25th, TexanLive.com. We are incredibly excited and hope you will be joining us there. All right, but before we get to next Friday, we're already considering it football season around here. We are geared up. We are ready to go. And there's a part of the state in the Brazos Valley that is always on football season. And that's where we want to welcome in KBTX sports reporter Nicole Griffith. Nicole, how are you?
Hello, good. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. Just, avoiding the heat, but staying inside.
That's a tough thing to do here.
I was fixing to say half the time it's even hot inside because it's so stinking hot outside.
Literally.
Which I'm sure is something that you've gotten used to now, considering I guess a congratulations is in order, considering you've basically been in College Station for 1 full year now.
Yes, I had my anniversary in July, my 1 year. So I don't know if I'm Texan yet, but I've been here a year. So,
considering you're covering Texas high school football, I think we can hand you like a loaner Texan card right now. We've got another year to vet you out here. But no, I think you got your Texas card when we brought you on last year and legitimately just shoved you into the fire and said, hey, you've only been there for about a week, but do you want to come on and talk Bryan College Station? Absolutely crushed it. So we wanted to give you a shot now, seeing how everything panned out last year, to join back on the show. So thank you for doing that. But let's start with that. Let's start back in last year and talk about the success that y'all had. I mean, from a state champion in Franklin to College Station being a state semi or a state finalist. What was that ride like for you, following those programs all year long, and to see them make it to the holy grail that is AT&T Stadium?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was my first time. I helped cover the Franklin State Tournament game. So I want to give a shout out to Morgan Weaver, our sports reporter. She kind of is on the Franklin beat. They love her up there, and they love KBTX, and we love them back. And going up there and helping her cover Franklin, it's awesome. Just seeing like Franklin, they didn't lose a game. They went back to back. They moved up a class. So, they're just as dominant. I saw Mark Fannin in his 3 years has only lost 3 games.
Sheesh.
And so, people really want to, Franklin's a powerhouse right now, and they've got a target on their back. But they're not shoe-ins any year. They'll say that, but it's awesome to see just how dominant they can be from going to 2A to 3A. And College Station, I know they feel like they came up short, going back to the title game and not quite getting it done. But they're just as hungry, and Stony Pryor's leading the ship over there, and they'll just kind of. I don't think they need to rebuild. It's just kind of a reload year because they're so used to getting back there. So, and also I covered Burton. They made it. They lost to Mart in the playoffs, and they were in the Final Four. They were 1 win away from getting to the state championship. So, we've got a lot of hungry teams down here and a lot of success.
Now, there's no shortage of ranked teams down there in the Brazos Valley. Like you said, Franklin, College Station, all looking to repeat what they did last year. I'm curious, what's a team down there that you're excited to see that might not be ranked in the preseason but is expected to do pretty well this year?
Yeah, I would say Bryan. They're the lone 6A team here. Bryan High, the Vikings. They were kind of my beat last year, and I'll be back on covering their season opener on the road. So I would they're hungry. They kind of got a little bit of a taste. It's their second season under Ricky Tolis, and so it's always kind of nicer. The first season is. You're learning new culture and how coaches like to do things and new terminology. And now it's the second year, and they've got their quarterback, Malcolm Gooden, back, and they have Tyson Turner, who's a Texas State commit, Texas Tech commit. Hopefully he's not listening here. Hopefully he is listening, but sorry, Tyson. But, they've got great talent, great talent on that team. And so that's, and they're just 2 minutes up the road from our station. So I'm hoping that and expecting them to do well this year.
Man, you mentioned something there, too, with Tolis obviously being at Bryan, now going into his second year. And that seems to be a big trend down there in the Bryan College Station area with Stony Pryor and then Danny Young's over there at Brenham. A lot of new talent in the coaching world that seems to have had such a big impact right from the bat. What have you noticed about, last year, those being first year, kind of following these teams right now, gearing up for the season? Do you notice any sort of a confidence level that seems to be there from these teams, knowing they have the offseason under their belt, knowing they have a season under their belt? Are you noticing that down there?
Oh, for sure. We do high school, kind of like a high school media day. And we have 27, 28 high schools come in a 4-hour span. So, we're talking to 4 to 8 players plus the coaches on each team. So there's about, 80, 90 players that we're talking to. And you can just tell the teams that are really hungry, that they we know what our coaches want from us. We know how practice goes, how their terminology goes, what their flow is like. And they're just really hungry to, maybe they had a rough, when you have your first year under a coach and you have a rough pre-district, but then you kind of figure it out by district or vice versa. You're okay in the pre-district, but then district comes up and it's a little harder than you were expecting. And so you can just tell a lot of these teams, they know what to expect now, and they're hungry for the high school the media day was, a couple weeks ago. So they're we have a month until the season, and now it's next Friday. And so I know these kids young men are excited to get out there on the field.
Something that I'm curious about from your perspective, I'm going to talk about college for a second, but it relates back to high school. Obviously, when you're talking about Texas A&M and the SEC as a whole, you're starting to see that, the high-flying offenses that people are using and everything like that. But what is funny to me is you look in the high school ranks of what the BCS area has to offer, and it is some exceptional running backs, from Jaden Jackson over there at Franklin to Aiden Martinez-Brown at College Station. I mean, the list goes on and on of these like true powerhouse running backs. You know, run the damn ball is always a real big thing in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about the true talent at running back that your area down there in the Brazos Valley has?
Well, I mean, it really helps when you have an SEC program, you know, in your backyard. And so they don't have to go far to recruit. And, you know, you've got Houston and Dallas and San Antonio and Austin, you know, not far away. So if like these athletes, like they can write their ticket if they put in the work. And so you can see that they're hungry. You know, for running back, you know, is not featured in 7-on-7, but when I covered 7-on-7 this summer, you know, you're like, this team, this kid has a Texas offer, this kid has an Arizona offer, this kid has 4 offers to do, and this kid has 8 offers to do it. You know, it's like, the talent is strong down here, and they just have to be able to put in the work, and, you know, the coaches will find you, and they know that.
There's no doubt that there is a ton of talent, especially in the running back position on the offensive side of the ball. But let's switch over to the defense, because a lot of these teams really stood out to me last season with strong defenses. Like, example, Brenham. I think their defense is going to be really, really stout this year. What are some of those defensive players that you're going to keep your eye on coming into this season?
Yeah, I literally have Brenham starred on my little cheat sheet here for defense, because Danny Young's is a lot of you notice in a lot of coaches, like, they're offensive minded, but I noticed when I went to a Brenham game, Danny Young's, you know, he's way on the other side. He's just letting the offense cook, and, you know, he calls the defense. So that's really inspiring to kind of, you know, eye opening. I love the defensive side of the ball and watching that. As far as players, oh man, it's across the board. I always refer back to Bryan. I know they're very hungry. Like they have a lot of two-way players. And so it's just, there's so many players. It's like, where do you even begin picking?
When you were there for a year, there's some good rivalry games down there. I guess a 2-part question here. Was there a game last year that you just absolutely enjoyed that really stuck out to you? And heading into the 2023 season, what game do you have circled on your calendar?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting so, you know, last year was my first year. And so playoff games, we always had to travel to like neutral sites. That was new to me. They didn't do that in Nebraska. They didn't do that in South Dakota. So one of the games that really stood out to me was the Burton Mart game out in, I think it was like it was up around the Austin area.
Yeah, Round Rock probably, I think is where it was.
Yep, that Martin game. And Burton was just rolling over teams. They were 13-0, but they kind of met their match in Mart. But I just remember you know, high school football is so big down here, but even when it becomes like late deep run playoff games, like that's when things really start to matter, and any kind of mistakes, you know, there's no room for mistakes. So that was one of the games that really stood out to me, even though they lost. But I remember that being like, this is the real deal here in the last round of the playoffs before the state game.
There's nothing like Texas high school football, and there's definitely nothing like Texas high school football playoffs. So glad you got to experience that. No doubt you're going to get to experience it this year. One final question there for you, Nicole. And I don't think we were able to ask you this last year, but we now can ask you this year. We love to know when we're down in College Station, because it seems like we end up down there probably 2 to 3 times a year. Where should we go eat at?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The Mexican food down here, the Tex-Mex is great. I catch myself going to Chewy's a lot, and I'm going to Gringos. So I don't know if you guys maybe you have Gringos. I know it's a chain, but they're always busy. Chewy's does the best like chips and salsa I've ever had. They have like a jalapeno ranch salsa. So I tried to make it on my own. That's how much I like it. So I had a whole bowl of this jalapeno ranch salsa that I tried to eat by myself. So
have you been
next time you're down, we'll try to make it.
Have you been?
We'll try to go there.
Have you been to Cilantro's? It's a Mexican restaurant, and I think it's in Bryan.
It's in Bryan, downtown Bryan. We went to one's called Cilantro's.
Last
Mallory
year
found
at 7.
I have been there.
Phenomenal. What are your thoughts?
It was great. People said, you know, you want to find like the real authentic like Mexican food, and people were saying like Cilantro's is the best best Mexican you'll have. And so I went there. I think I got Man, I don't even remember what I got. That's how bad it is. But I remember it being really good. And the margaritas, obviously, you got to get a margarita.
It's
Correct.
fantastic.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
There she goes. It is Nicole Griffith from KBTX there in Bryan College Station. Nicole, thank you so much for hopping on. We're glad that we were able to give you more time to prepare like as a whole season. But we look forward to hopefully crossing paths with you later this year.
Yes, and then come next year, I'll have even more knowledge.
Yes, ma'am. We love it.
Thank you, guys.
There she goes, KBTX sports reporter Nicole Griffith. Really appreciate her hopping on. You can follow her on Twitter, X, whatever the app's name is, at Nicole GRIFF _. So Nicole Griff _.
Nicole Griff.
I legitimately
I was thinking about that, typing out her name for the lower third. That's a really cool name.
Yeah.
Like Nicole Griffith, that's a strong name.
It is strong.
You know?
Yeah.
My name I don't think is very strong. Like it doesn't have a strong sound to it, but like Nicole Griffith is like a gut punch, you know?
Mallory. Mallory doesn't have a cool gut punch to it.
Can I tell that story?
Yeah, you can tell that story.
So
sidebar.
We're
calling sidebar.
You and Ish were sitting at Chick-fil-A.
Mm-hmm.
This was right before the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame induction ceremony this past year. We were, gearing up for the show, filling up our gut with Chick-fil-A.
Correct.
And the guy comes by with our food, right? And so it looks like he's coming over to our table, and we're expecting him to say one of our names, right? Mm-hmm. He said something, and I just kind of sat there, and I was like, say that again, sir? Was that one of our names? And he looks at me, and he goes, Mallory? Like, what?
And at that
Who? Say that again, please. Sound it out.
And at that point, I'm bent over cackling. Like, I genuinely felt bad for the guy because that was just really rude of me to like not wait until he left, but I could not hold it in. She just goes, who? And he goes, Mallory.
Say it like that. The thing that caught me off guard was just I've never heard my name pronounced like that before. Usually everybody gets the pronunciation right. It's just the spelling that's wrong. So I've just never heard that. And that's why I was so taken aback by what he said. So I didn't mean to be rude. I didn't think I was rude. Anyway, that's the story.
Anyway, Nicole Griffith has a very strong name, just like her coverage of the greater Bryan College Station area and the Brazos Valley. So we really appreciate her doing that. Much stronger of a name than Mallory. You know what else has a really strong name? VCR Now. So why don't we hear from our good friends? Boom. Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. All right, Mallory.
Stop it. I don't like that. I don't like it.
Let's dive in to the Brazos Valley. So,
what if I don't want to? What if I just got up and walked out? Because that is not nice.
Well, then people would be stuck just staring at my face because I can talk. Like, there just won't be a graphic up before me.
I'm gonna take your mic off.
Because we haven't done this, here it is, the 64th edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. When you start to flip through it, you'll get to these high school pages, and we've got rankings. We have our preseason rankings where we rank the top 25 in each classification from 5A down to 1A, and then in 6A, because the division split does not happen until the postseason, we rank the top 50. So we're going to go through and show you which teams in the Brazos Valley are ranked in our preseason Dave Campbell's Texas Football rankings, the official rankings of the Associated Press. We start off in 5A Division 1, coming in at number 3. How about them Cougars? Talking about College Station, and what a roller coaster of a ride that was last year. Flashback, go back in your Wayback Machine, and Marquise Collins, the superstar going into his senior year running back, gets hurt.
That was even before the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in preseason. And I don't know if it was in summer workouts or if it was in fall camp or like two-a-days. I think it was two-a-days. Maybe it was. I don't know. But we knew for a fact before the season started that they were toast, as we thought. Yeah. Right? There's no way. That's the superstar. They lost Jet Huff. They lost their head coach in Steve Huff. There's no way. Okay, well, in enters Aiden Martinez-Brown. But no, for real, then they go, so we think, okay, maybe we'll see. Then they go into week 1, 52-27 loss against Lovejoy. And we're going, oh my God. There goes, as they were number 1, I think, going into last year. And it was like, okay, there they go. Done. Toasted. Trash. Goodbye. And then it enters Aiden Martinez-Brown. College Station, after we completely buried them after week 1, completely rode off all the way to AT&T Stadium. So they drop one against Georgetown in late October, which was just kind of a fumble on their part, and then they make it all the way, play Aledo in the state championship, get embarrassed in the state championship, but regardless, they made it back at the hands of what fundamentally was an unbelievable sophomore running back. So he is back for his junior season. Arrington Maiden is back for his senior year, the quarterback that had over 2,000 passing yards. So what I'm saying is College Station ranked very highly. We're not dropping them this year just because one player got hurt. Going to be young on the offensive line, and I think the secondary, which is not something that they usually have to worry about. Usually College Station is very fundamentally sound on the offensive line, so that'll be interesting, but all the skill players are back, so we think very highly of College Station. Moving down to the 5A Division 2 ranks, this is where you'll find the number 12th ranked Brenham Cubs. Danny Young's in his second season. They lost to eventual state finalist P&G 38-28 in the regional semifinals. They were hit really hard by graduation this year, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They do return 6 starters on defense. So I think that if the defense can carry them for the first couple of games and they can grow on the offense, you can expect good things from the Brenham Cubs. I feel like they are definitely the favorite in their district. It'll be interesting looking past that, though, as they have to go through that just tumultuous region 3 there with Fort Bend Marshall and P&G, who, again, they would love to have a revenge game on heading into this year. Moving down to 4A Division 2, it is the Mustangs out of Buckyville, Madisonville, if you will.
Correct.
They fell 60-21 last year in the regional semifinals to Mallory's beloved Silsbee Tigers.
Let's go.
Silsbee Tigers, they got the full Draylon Miller experience.
They sure did.
But man, they've got All-State wide receiver Lorenzo Johnson coming back. And then on top of him coming back, almost all the rest of the skill players are back this year. They will need an offensive line to grow up really quickly if they're going to be able to utilize those skill players, but don't have much concern for that. They come in the last preseason ranked team in preseason number 25 there in 4A Division 2. Moving on down, 3A Division 1. You heard of them before? The Lions of Franklin. They come in.
Mafia.
Slot T Mafia, injected into my veins forever and always. The Franklin Lions, back-to-back 16-0 seasons there under head coach Mark Fannin. And Nicole brought up a good point. He's only got 3 losses in his 3 years. He's 44-3. 44-3 at Franklin.
That's pretty good. That's not bad.
Insane.
One of those is a state championship loss, correct? 2-3
yes,
years ago?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But regardless, back-to-back 2-time state championships. They have not lost a game, I guess, since 2020.
That's pretty good.
Wow. So last year, Franklin is so funny for me because last year we went in and guess who we were talking about? Bryson Washington. We talked about Bryson Washington and the unbelievable show he put on in the 2021 state championship, the just insane year that he has as a junior, and we were looking at it going, oh my gosh, this guy, once he put the state on notice, still has another year. Now, Bryson Washington still did his thing last year. He is truly an exceptional player, incredibly fun to watch, one of my favorite players to watch since I've been covering Texas high school football for Dave Campbell's. But how about sophomore Jaden Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
This was the insane thing for me. I mean, over 2,200 yards on the ground, 32 touchdowns last year. But we knew Jaden Jackson was special, and we were like, okay, great. He's going to play second fiddle to Bryson Washington. It's going to be great. I don't remember if you remember sitting there talking with me at the state championship, but we are sitting there watching it, and we're looking around, and we're going, we think that Bryson Washington is incredibly talented, but this sophomore is making him look like his number 2 right now.
Well, he's huge too. I mean, I'll talk more about him later when we really dive into some of these players around the area. But like he's got great size already, and he's going to be a junior.
Yeah. So he might be able to drive at this point. He might have had his 16th birthday.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, we'll get into it a little bit more, but Franklin is going to be incredible. They're bringing back Jaden Jackson, only going to be a junior this year. The defense looks great. Brandon Smith on the defensive line is back from injury, which is going to be a huge get for them. And then linebackers Braden Urie and Colby Smith are both back. I think that the experience for this team, because still so many of these guys are young, the experience is just impalpable. Mm-hmm. So incredibly excited to watch them. Trickling down to these smaller classifications now. Here we go down into 2A Division 1 out of District 12. It is number 7 rather in Centerville. They went 10-3 last year, but 10-3 is great. Get this, their only losses were to Crawford, a 1-point loss to Mart, and Timpson. They got Terry Bussied in the regional semifinal.
Which makes sense. I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, that's crazy. To play that steep of a schedule and to lose to those 3 programs, Crawford, Mart by 1 point, and Timpson in a regional semifinal.
Yeah.
That's a really, really impressive feat considering they were young last year.
Yeah, they're bringing back pretty much everybody on both sides of the ball too, so they're only on the trajectory.
Yeah, they've had 5 playoff wins in the past 2 years, and I think they were a little bit of a year early last year. Mm-hmm. So they run that multiple wing, and then I think the big one for them is that they've got Andrew Newman back at running back, co-district offensive player of the year down there in District 12. He was right on the cusp of 100 or 1,000 yards last year. They're going to have to fill some spots in the defense, but keep an eye on Centerville because, like we said, think they were a little bit early last year. That experience is really going to come back if the defense can kind of reload a little bit, but the offense should be humming with no problem. Moving on down to 2A Division 1, a pair of top 10 ranked contenders. You heard Nicole talk about them in the number 5 ranked Bremont Tigers coming out of District 13, fell to Falls City in a bye district last year, went 8-3. We expect big things from Bremont this year. Braylon Wortham is back at, again, why I love small school ball, quarterback and defensive end. Braylon
What a
Wortham
duo, man.
is
What a
back
duo.
as a sophomore. He had 1,600 yards, 26 touchdowns rushing, truly a dual threat quarterback. And the reason that we have such high expectations for Bremont is because they legitimately bring back basically their entire team with a year's more of experience, which is funny because they did fall in the bi-district round. But if you go back, much like how we had ridden off College Station in the early part of the year, they lost to Falls City. We rode off the Beavers so early.
Yeah.
I mean, they had like 3 games where it was like, what in the world is happening down there? And then they did that thing where they turned on the jets and started blowing over people for the rest of the year. So a hard-fought loss there to Falls City, but we expect big things out of Bremond. They are a little small, but very fast, so watch out. Moving on now down to number 9. That'll be the Burton Panthers out of District 14 down there. They went 13-1 last year, lost to Mart in the state semifinals 41-14. Really close games all the way until then. I mean, an undefeated record until the state semifinals. Not something you can complain about. They will be returning 8 starters on their offense, 6 starters on their defense. Incredibly, here's the key for Burton here. Incredibly experienced returning rushing game and incredibly experienced returning offensive line. Expect this to be a big ground and pound. That's kind of where the difference between Bremond and Burton are. Bremond, small and fast. Burton, they're going to punch you in the mouth.
Hard-nosed hitting team.
They will definitely punch you in the mouth. And then 3-year starter Colby Black back to lead the defense there at linebacker. He's been a key staple for that Burton defense for a couple of years now. So excited to see what they do. And then finally, rounding it out there in 1A Division 2, we stretch all the way from the largest classification in the Brazos Valley in 6A down to the smallest 6-man classification in 1A Division 2, and it is number 10, Oakwood. They went 11-3 last season, lost to Lorain in the state semifinals, but expecting to make another long playoff run down there in the UIL's smallest classification. So, obviously, the handful of other teams that we did not mention, there are 24 teams in the Brazos Valley region, one of which being Bryan, like she mentioned, and that's who Nicole primarily covers, and she thinks that good things on their offensive or on their defensive side of the ball. Same thing goes for Brian Rudder, a couple of different really big programs down there. But out of all of those are the preseason ranked teams, and that's a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, out of one of the smallest regions in the state of Texas to have that much power. And what I find interesting about it is it's not just like, oh, it's all power at the top or it's all power at the bottom. You've got a legitimate contender in almost every classification.
Yeah, it's very even. I was looking through all of the regions last night just kind of as a refresher, and I was like, dang, this is a really, really small region. I wish we could have gone back and looked at the percentage because of, ranked teams versus how many teams are actually in the region, because it'll be a high percentage.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, there's not many teams really in that region, but a high number of ranked teams.
Yeah, some very, very good talent, especially, man, if you're a fan of hard-nosed hitting football and some big running back energy, the Brazos Valley is where you want to stay. Which leads us directly into talking about some of those players that maybe if you're not interested in the region, but you like the recruiting side of stuff, we head over to Mallory with more.
Stop it.
I had to do it one more time. We head over to Mallory Hartley with a breakdown on top recruits to watch for.
Maybe. If you call me Mallory again, I'm getting up and I'm leaving here. Anyways, let's get into it.
Just to see if she's for real.
Let's get into it. We'll start off in the big dogs, the 6A ranks. You heard Nicole talk about him already, but I'm going to talk about him some more because he is a star-studded wide receiver out of Bryan. It's Tyson Turner. He's entering his senior season at Bryan High School, standing at 6'2", weighing 190 pounds, which is really, really good for him for a wide receiver. As a junior, Turner recorded 34 receptions for 665 yards and 13 touchdowns, and that was just through 10 regular season games. He's already committed to Texas Tech. He did that, I think, back in June of this year. Man, joining an already strong wide receiver unit out there in Lubbock. He really is a dynamic athlete who has no problem separating himself from defenders. If you don't believe me, just watch his Huddle. It's all over that. And not only is he a speedster, but Turner actually placed third as a junior at the May 2023 Texas 6A High Jump Finals. So not only does he have the speed, but he's got that really high vertical as well, which obviously makes him just a dynamic wide receiver all around. Moving on down to College Station, defensive back Tony Hamilton. We have already talked about the running back factory over there, but let's switch sides here and talk about the defense. He's on our 5A preseason all-state team as a defensive back. As a junior, he recorded 131 total tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 4 interceptions. He's just a guy that can perform really, really well under pressure. And one of the highlights that I saw from him when I was looking at his Huddle tape earlier was the game against A&M Consolidated last year. That was such a highly anticipated game, I think, for us. And it was a really, really fun game to watch because we truly didn't know what College Station, like you said, was going to be without Marquise Collins in the running game. College Station ended up winning that game 38-28, I believe. But on A&M Consolidated's last drive, I believe it was, Hamilton picked off the quarterback's pass. I don't remember what A&M Consolidated's quarterback was, but he's just a guy that he can perform very, very well under pressure, and I think that is a perfect example of that. He performs at a high level in very key moments in games, and he's just a guy that you can rely on. He's a playmaker. He's a guy that you can rely on in any type of situation there in the defense. He's got an offer from Texas State and Northwestern State as of right now, but I have a feeling that those offers are probably going to be flooding in once the season starts.
Oh, yeah, and Coach Pryor is a very, very large advocate for Tony Hamilton in a lot of different ways. He says he's his best all-around player, and he said, but here's the big thing that sticks out to me. He's going to take on a greater leadership and two-way role, and then he put in all caps physical.
Yes.
So we knew the physical part, but to hear that you're able to take on a leadership role in both sides of the ball, that's really big. They've got something really special there in Tony Hamilton.
Agreed. Moving on down, let's talk about Brenham linebacker Cade Moore, and you kind of heard Nicole talk about it a little bit. This defense is going to be very, very good. Offense is probably a little bit young, but this team is going to be highlighted by linebacker Cade Moore, that's for sure. He's our 10-5A Division II preseason defensive MVP. He recorded 109 total tackles, 17 tackles for loss, and 6 sacks last season. He's just a guy that can really do it all. He's got a really good frame, 6 foot, 205 pounds, and he's quick. He's a guy that just can do it all. And like I said, this is a very defensive-heavy team. He's just going to be that star down there at the linebacker spot, and he's going to be the leader. He's a senior this year. He's going to be a leader for this team, and I think that they've got a really, really good shot at maybe making it to AT&T Stadium with this defensive-heavy team.
Yeah, he just to add to it, he blocked 2 punts last year too. So you talked about, because we see his 6 foot 205 stature, and we think, man, that's just a big old boy. You know, like he plays very physical. But I think I agree when saying that Cade's like most underrated asset is his speed.
Yeah,
I don't think enough people realize just how quick off the draw he is.
Moving on down, let's talk about Brian Rudder, athlete. Jaquise Martin. He's listed as a wide receiver on 247, but I think he plays a little bit at running back too. So we're labeling him as an athlete. He really stood out at the state 7-on-7 tournament this year. I didn't see him personally, but I definitely saw a lot of tweets about him. And he led Rudder to compete in the championship bracket, the Division I championship bracket that Saturday. They lost in the first round, but he really, really stood out during that tournament. He caught 40 passes last year for 575 yards and 7 touchdowns, while racking up 217 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground last season. He's quick on his feet, and I think just looking through his Huddle tape this morning, he's a really good route runner. He's quick, and he's got a lot of speed there. He's quick on his feet. He's got offers from Texas Tech, Nebraska, Arkansas State, and Florida A&M, but it looks like, going through his Twitter, that maybe Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies look a little interested in him. They've got their eye on him. I think he attended one of their camps or something this summer, but Jimbo Fisher's definitely has his eye on this kid. Yeah, he's something special. Coach Azar will tell you, he said he's the best football player I've coached in the last 10 years. Yeah, that's special. That's some high praise. And it would be great to see him stay in College Station, or the BCS area and stick there. I think that if he, I want to say wide receiver, I think he would be the perfect thing for a little slot receiver. I genuinely do. 5'11" stature, 185. I think he's built more like a running back, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got the frame to add on a little bit more good weight. I don't know if he's big enough to play. I think he could absolutely play running back at Brian Rudder. I don't know if he's got the frame to play it in college. But
he still has another year to grow too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still growing.
And he, like I said, I think he's got the frame to add on a little bit more of that, like the healthy, good weight that you're looking for. But I think that might be what college is like the most about him, is he's kind of on that teetering edge of a lot of different positions, and he's got the skill to play all of those just depending on where they need him and where he needs to go.
Yeah, and Rudder, they didn't do too hot last season, but again, I think they were still a very young team, and with Jaquise Martin as well as Brandon Cooks at wide receiver, they're probably poised for the come up this season. All right, do we even have to talk about him? We've already talked about him 1,000 times. Franklin running back, Jaden Jackson. Let's talk about the running back factory that is the Franklin Lions. And like I said, I got to start off this just by naming off his stats. I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but here's his exact stats from last season. And again, as a sophomore, these are the numbers that he was able to put up. 238 carries for 2,212 yards and 32 touchdowns.
Light work.
That's light work. And of course, led the Lions to their second consecutive state title. He's got a great frame, staying at 5'11", 210 pounds. And again, he's only going to be a junior this year. So will he keep growing? I don't know. That's a good frame for a running back, though, I'd say. He's just a hard-nosed back who isn't afraid to just barrel through the line to create really his own path and his own holes for himself, which is really the style of play that Franklin likes to play. Down there, they like to play that slot T, and they take a lot of pride in their running game. And, man, he's got a mean stiff arm, too.
Oh,
there were a couple of highlights he had on his huddle where he just stiff-armed the heck out of these defenders, and they had no chance.
Yeah, I mean, he is absolutely going to have a bigger frame than Bryson Washington by the time it gets done. I mean, I honestly think that he already did last year, but the thing that just impressed me so much about him was with that larger frame, with the more defined muscle tone and all of that, he was still able to be just as elusive as Bryson Washington was when it came to the cuts. I mean,
He's
it was
quick on his feet. Like, his agility is just, it's jarring.
Yeah, and I think he welcomes contact too, which is obviously to a certain degree always really good to see, but I was genuinely just impressed with how elusive he was off the cuts.
Yeah, he's super impressive. Like, I love watching his huddle because he's one of those running backs that he's just not afraid to get his hands dirty.
No, not at all.
Say.
He'll block for people too.
He'll block for people.
And that's intangible stuff as a coach. Like, if you're looking at that as a coach and you see your sophomore running back blocking for your senior who is equally as talented,
right?
I mean, you can't teach that.
No, you can't. All right, let's round it all out in the 2A ranks with Centerville offensive lineman James Wright. He's a 2A preseason All-State offensive lineman, and man, there's a reason why. He stands at 6'6", 315 pounds.
That's
in the 2A ranks.
Big boy.
You don't see that combination of height and weight anywhere in the 2A ranks. I mean, anywhere, probably. I mean, that's probably a normal offensive lineman frame when you're looking
for
at the
college.
Correct, that too. But 2A,
I wouldn't even say that 6'6", 315 is normal for 6A. Like, I would say that there is
it's more common,
good percentage, but that's not normal. Like, none of that is normal.
No, not.
I guarantee you they were watching him walk into kindergarten as like this 5'5", 140-pound kid and going, Mama, keep feeding him.
Coach coming in like, yep,
that's the one.
I need that 5 meals a day.
Get that calorie count up, boy.
Man, and he really is. He just looks like a man amongst boys out there. Because again, that frame and that is just not common in that rank. But not only is he big, but he's an athlete too. He sticks with his blocks, creating big gaps in the line for his running back. He's just a special player for this Centerville team, and like you said, made it 4 rounds deep in the playoffs. And yes, they were pretty young, maybe a year early last year, but this guy returns. They got great skill players on the offensive side of the ball. They're poised for a really, really special year, I think, this Centerville team, and I can't praise that enough. And it's going to be led by this offensive lineman right here, James Wright. 56
pancakes last year. Light work. And that's the thing, is he runs a 5'9" 40, so speed not the name of the game, but in the 2A ranks, he just needs to be a wall. If he was playing at a higher classification, he might need to work on trimming down a little bit and getting that speed a little bit better. But shoot, man, just go up there and block 4 kids at once. The
first highlight on his Huddle tape was, it looked like remember that scene from The Blind Side where Michael Orr just takes that kid to the bus?
Where were you taking him, Michael?
The bus.
Oh, it was time for him to go home.
That's exactly what it looks like, and I'm like, man, that's how you start off your Huddle tape.
Yeah.
with that video right there. But yeah, he's a special player, and he's going to lead that team pretty far this year. So there you go, players to watch in the Brazos Valley region. Man, I love doing that. I really do. I like watching tape. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Cruton Power Hour with Malpal.
Sure, with Mallory.
You said it, not me.
Just kidding. No, incorrect. But yep, there you go. Players to watch in the Brazos Valley region.
So there you go. We're back, whether you wanted us to be or not. Women Talking Football live every Thursday at 2 o'clock. So this is exactly, if you're new here, welcome. If you're joining us again, happy football season. We'll be here every single Thursday at 2 o'clock right here. If you are not going to watch us live, perfectly fine. You can download it on any podcast vendor of your choice. But this is exactly how it'll look. We'll go through, we'll talk about the teams that we have the highest hopes for. We'll break down, we'll try to bring in a reporter from across the state every single week to get that hometown feel to it. They know the most about those teams as anyone possibly could. And then we'll break down some players. So if you enjoy it, let us know. If you think we should change anything up, also let us know. But we appreciate it, and we are super looking forward to the remainder of this season. Do you want to put up that graphic one more time? Just a reminder, because we will likely be stressed out at this point next Thursday, considering we will be about, 18 hours away. But right now, we're just excited. There is no stress. There's some stress, not a lot of stress. Coming August 25th, the premiere of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. You can stream it for free on TexanLive.com every single Friday night of the Texas high school football season from 7:30 to 10 o'clock. Live from the University of North Texas NTTV studios. We're working with students. It's an internship for them, so it's students helping students to broadcast games of students. We're big in on all of that here, but a red zone style show diving in on some of the largest Texas high school football games across the Lone Star State every single Friday for free on TexanLive.com. We hope you will join us there. But until then, we will see you again next Thursday on Women Talking Football.